Yesterday, known white supremacist sympathizer, or maybe it was 2 days ago, because it was on at night on Laura Ingraham's show, Stephen Miller, he went on her show to, shocker, fearmonger about Afghan refugees coming into the United States, which is the least we can do after occupying that country for 20 years and causing lots of death. But of course, he's against it. And so CNN invited an Afghanistan veteran onto their program to respond. And I thought it was pretty interesting. I will say this is kind of something that outlets like CNN really love to do, because they just really like the concept of military officials pushing back against Trump officials. It's a theme we saw throughout the Trump administration. But I thought this was pretty fascinating and good, actually. So let's take a look.
That we would take them to ours.
What do you say to that?
That man has been my personal nemesis now for almost 8 years. I've been fighting him since he was Jeff Sessions' Senate staffer. As far as I'm concerned, he personally is as complicit as the Taliban in these people's deaths. He should be held accountable for war crimes. He spent the entirety of the Trump administration purposely trying to prevent these people from coming here. I've had meetings with him and his ilk. I brought the interpreter who saved my life to some of those meetings. We met with a lady by the name of Andrea Loving. She's the deputy counsel for the House Judiciary Committee for the GOP. Janice and I were sitting in a meeting with her. She is Stephen's counterpart at the time in Congress. And we were debating about whether or not Congress should allocate more visas for these people. She then articulated what his platform was. I pointed to Janice and I said, this is a gentleman who saved my life. Maybe you've just never had a chance to meet an Afghan. And so it helped to put a face to these people's names. And they looked at me and they said, you're doing nothing but letting Islamic fundamentalist terrorists into our country, and it's our job to stop you. Wrong. These are our people. There is no us and them. There's just an us. And you know what? Stephen Miller never wore a uniform a day in his life. He's a privileged little brat. He ought to be held for war crimes. I can't stand that man. I can't believe that you're even giving him any more airtime. That's the reason why that guy's views continue to get publicized, is because the media keeps putting him out there. That guy doesn't represent America. He represents the worst of us. What's going on right now, however, is the best of us. I'm currently involved with a massive airlift planning operation from my living room. There are veterans all over the country who are organizing a digital Dunkirk. We are not getting any sleep. We are determined to see our people get out, and we're not going to rest until we do it effectively and efficiently, and most importantly, until we take them all. But people like Stephen Miller need to just sit down and shut up, because he has been part of the problem for too long.
Matt, you.
So I thought that was powerful and interesting in a variety of ways. Stephen Miller prosecuted for war crimes. I mean, that's like an interesting perspective.
I mean, let's not stop there, but I mean, we should, there should be a definite war crimes tribunal for what happened there.
My point is that he's not on the first, he's a white supremacist, but he's not the first on my list of people who need to be prosecuted for war crimes. There were a lot of people who had a lot more power, including George W. Bush, including Obama, who committed war crimes, including Trump, who committed war crimes, who might be a little bit higher on the list. Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld, a variety of other actors and characters who should be on, although Don Rumsfeld maybe posthumously. But regardless, I did like what he said there, because, look, the way that people like Stephen Miller see their role in America is, of course, like preserving white hegemony, but they talk about Islamic extremists. They kind of see that as a parallel ideology for them, because they are white Christian fundamentalist extremists in this country. And so they characterize all Muslim people under that same banner in order to fuel their us versus them project, which hides their own extremism because it gets people to say, I'm on this team or whatever. The outrage there is justified, given, I would imagine, some difficulties with him that veteran there, Mad Zeller, grappling with why the hell we were even there and why he was even there.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to limit our analysis to the withdrawal from Afghanistan and what the failure was at, and not get into like the occupation itself, but just the withdrawal, the failure is the lack of, accommodation to get people out of there safely. And that is entirely because of Stephen Miller and just his explicit, objectives as a person in public life. But also the Democrats have been too afraid, and they've basically allowed him a veto, and they should stop being so afraid of letting refugees into this country.
Absolutely. I mean, before this, Biden was completely, I know he's updated his stance for Afghan refugees, but he was too afraid to let in more refugees because they fear of like this blowback from the Miller types and the Tucker Carlson types who are going to call you a sympathizer with the cause.
And they're also worried about the message it would send to other refugees from other parts of the globe. And this is part of like that deterrence thing where they say like, don't come here, right? Like this is...
Well, we if we're going to say that all of the nations that have been touched by U.S. imperialism and our death squads and our military interventions, that they have a right to come here because of what we've done to their nations, wow, that's a slippery slope. So that's exactly right.
Folks, there's more of what you've just saw where that came from. That's if you hit the subscribe and like button. Thank you. Really, thank you.